Hello and welcome to our webinar. This is Kindergarten Entry Assessment 101 and we are recording this webinar. This presentation today is from the Office of Early Learning at North Carolina's Department of Public Instruction. I am Darlene Germano, a K-3 consultant for the North Central region, and presenting with me today is my colleague Melissa. Melissa?
Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Strickland and I'm the Northeast consultant, and I'm happy to be with you this afternoon.
If you have questions at any time during this webinar, please put them in your question box. We have two other colleagues supporting the webinar today. Jamie Graham and Lauren Austin will be answering your questions. Our agenda today is to answer these questions for you. What is the purpose of the KEA? How do I facilitate the KEA process in my classroom? What are the constructs and domains? How do I access the platform? And where do I find resources for further learning? I'm going to hand it over to Melissa now to begin addressing those questions. Melissa?
Thanks, Darlene. So the purpose of the KEA and all formative assessment is simply to inform your teaching and learning. It is the process of good quality, personalized instruction. There are 5 critical components of this process, and you'll notice by the image that it's a continuous process. There's not really a starting or a stopping place. We select learning targets, develop criteria for success. We intentionally plan to elicit evidence of learning from students. We then interpret the evidence we've collected, and we adapt and respond accordingly with our instruction. In just a bit, Darlene will talk more about each of these components and what they look like in the classroom. There are 4 key points of the KEA formative assessment vision. The first is that the KEA is a whole child perspective. We must attend to a child's growth and development in each of these 5 domains: approaches to learning, cognitive development, language development and communication, emotional and social development, and health and physical development. We know how well a child performs in one of these areas affects how he or she will do in another, and this directly impacts their overall success. The second key point is that formative assessment happens all day long. We can learn about students in all settings: whole group, small group, centers, and individually. Even on the playground and in the hallways, students display evidence of their learning. Once that evidence is displayed by a student, we want to be sure it's documented or collected, and that's this next key point. There are many ways to document evidence. Often it's jotted down on a sticky note or a photo is taken. We collect lots of work samples, and we get great information from families and from resource teachers as well. The last key point is that we must use this evidence we've collected to guide our instruction. We often hear the terms individualize, personalize, differentiate. This is how you do it. We have the evidence that lets us know specifically where a child is, and we use this information to adjust instruction in order to meet each child's needs. Now, Darlene is going to tell you about the tools that we have to support you with the formative assessment process. Darlene?
Thank you, Melissa. So the first tool I want to talk about are construct progressions, learning progressions. These each have an understanding that's kind of the umbrella that identifies the major concepts. And each one has skills. These are those fine-grained steps in a learning progression, ranging from simple to complex. And they each have performance descriptors. These provide examples of what it looks like at each skill level. It paints a picture. Now we're going to be talking more about these construct progressions when I talk about the part about what it looks like in the classroom. And please remember that this is being recorded and you can go back to it later. And Melissa's going to be talking about resources in this webinar too, so that for further learning or for more information. Since it's only a half hour, this is the bird's eye view and the overview. Now, there were 15 construct progressions developed, and this table shows you the 8 that are required for the KEA. Notice in the middle column, there's those 5 domains of learning that Melissa just talked about. And here are the required construct progressions for each of those domains. Engagement and self-selected activities, object counting, emotional literacy, grip and manipulation, crossing midline, hand dominance, following directions, letter naming. Those are the 8 that are required. Book orientation and print awareness are optional, but some districts are requiring them. So if you're not sure, be sure and ask about that, please. All of the constructs are compiled into a book, and if you are a kindergarten teacher, you should have one of these. If you don't, please ask. Principals and coaches, you're going to want one too. Melissa will show you when she gets to the resource part how you can order this book or download it. Another support is a technology platform. This technology platform is to store and use the data collected. To log in, you will use your NC Ed Cloud IM sign-in, and you will see this icon for the KEA. When you're in the technology platform, this is the dashboard, and we just wanted to point out a few things. We can't get deep into the technology today, but we wanted to point out that help is just a click away. As I talk about what the KEA looks like in the classroom, I'm going to refer to some of the technology, but remember that you always have this question mark icon in your platform that has step documents, it has like short videos and how-to type information. But we also wanted to point out that when you're on different pages in the technology, for example, up here, notice there's a report. If you go to report and then you click the question mark, it's going to have different resources than if you're in the assess part or the family part. Each one has different ones. So be sure, and if you have a question, go to that part to look for the question mark icon and see if there's supports there for you. Okay, here's the fun part. What does this look like in the classroom? Well, we could talk about this all day and more than one day, but with this quick glimpse overview, remembering that Melissa's going to show you about how to find resources later, we're going to begin by looking at the graphic that Melissa showed of the formative assessment process with those 5 critical components. And remembering that the technology is a support for this process. Let's start with eliciting evidence of learning. One of the key points Melissa mentioned was that it occurs during instruction and it's not an isolated event. Teachers are capturing where children are in their learning while learning is happening. So in this example, students are at a math station and their teacher is capturing like observational notes, and she could collect work samples. If you notice on the table, the children are recording their math thinking, and she could collect those, and that's great evidence too. Also, please note that Ms. Harshaw intentionally freed herself up to be able to observe and engage with children while they were at stations. She's not always over at her table with a small group giving instruction. Centers are a great way to gather data on the whole child. Teachers need to offer learning opportunities with that balance with teacher-initiated and child-initiated learning opportunities. And these types of high-interest centers provide choice and opportunity to apply all those new skills that they're acquiring. Student sharing. Anytime you have children sharing, whether it's pair share or whole group, you can gather evidence of learning. And morning meeting is an awesome place to gather evidence on all 5 domains. Teachers, in the technology platform, you can look at the performance descriptors to help connect to what you are already doing. What's happening in your classroom, and where can you intentionally plan for times to capture evidence of learning? And principals and coaches, these performance descriptors will help you know what you're seeing when you're in an effective classroom, and what you're looking for when you're in those classrooms supporting your teachers. We also want to show you a few ideas on how to capture the evidence and make it manageable. Meaningful and manageable is the key here. Now, this is an example of one way. It's a grid that was developed by a kindergarten teacher. Her name is Susan Ford, and she was nice enough to share these with everyone. And Melissa will be showing you where to find them all. Notice that this example is of object counting. The skills are here across the top. You would just put your children's names over on the side, and then you could just put the dates in when you captured evidence of learning for that skill level. Many teachers love this one. It's an empty notebook with the papers all gone when you're done with it. On the one side is at a glance document. And Melissa's going to show you where this is too. At a glance documents took those construct progressions, and it's only the skill level. And as you can see, it's like all 8 of them are here. They could just flip it up to get to them. And then on this side are the big index cards with your children's names, so you could just flip there and be able to put down notes. Sticky notes. These are a go-to for formative assessment. And if you put pads all over your room and always have them at hand's reach, you're going to find that you can really capture things when you're not expecting it, and when you're in a group and you are looking for it, it's right there for you. And this teacher had a poster board with some of the construct progressions on, so she could just stick her sticky notes right up there and put it right on the construct progression that it pertained to. Those were examples of quick ways to capture evidence while learning is happening. I'd like to point out that the next step is entering an observational note into the platform. These notes need to tell what the child did, said, made, or wrote. And for more examples and support, we have resources on our state wiki. Just click on the KEA evidence link. So now I gathered some evidence. I know where my children are, and I need to look at that evidence and interpret it. And this is the key. We are really good at gathering evidence, but we want to be able to do something with it. Don't just file it away. We need to use it to guide our instruction. So in the platform, you will see all the construct progressions, and the skills are right here. You get to scroll and see all of them. And as you reflect on those evidences that you have, you determine where they are along the progression. Now, this is called making a learning status. And in this example, 3 children were at a level E, 1 was at a level F, skill level F, and they just clicked where they interpreted that evidence to be. This is strength-based. It's what do children know, not looking at what they don't know. What do they know? Because that will lead you, for after you determine what they know, what is that next step? And the next step is to select their learning target. And that next skill level is their learning target. And don't forget that we need to involve our students with that too. They need to know what their learning target is and understand what it is that they're learning and going for. When we do this, we help our students stay in the learning zone. We don't want to give them things that are too high and put them in a panic zone. And we don't want them to stay in a comfort zone either. We need to challenge all children and help them progress and learn and keep moving with their learning. And this is the way to do it. All right, so we've collected evidence, we've made learning statuses, that meant we interpreted it, and now we know their learning target, and it's time to adapt and respond. We adapt and respond all the time to our children's needs by providing learning opportunities and different materials. We're thinking about the whole class and small groups and individual needs. That's how we personalize learning. And there is a lot of ways the technology supports adapting and responding, but the one we wanted to highlight today is one of the reports. This report automatically groups your children from the evidences and the learning statuses you put in, it automatically groups them on all of the construct progressions. So it's really handy and a great resource for teachers. Criteria for success. What does it look like to accomplish their learning goal? And there's so many ways to create criteria for success. You know, modeling is a major one, and creating anchor charts is a great way too. Be sure and create them with your children and model how you're thinking and keep them up there and use them for a period of time so that when you do take them and post them up on the wall, you're going to see your children really use them and they become a great resource for learning. And in the technology platform, those performance descriptors will also help you with creating criteria for success. And that was all 5 of the critical components. And it's just good instructional practices, and it's happening in classrooms all the time. And you're going to be thinking about how you're going to elicit that evidence and interpret and adapt and respond over and over. And it just keeps going. Once they've learned something new, they're ready for a new learning target. And then you're going to adapt and respond. And it just keeps going and going. Now, the KA has a one-time status summary that happens around the 60th day of school. But remember, we were just talking about learning statuses. So statuses in both of these. And we want to talk just a second about that. Remember, the learning status was when we interpreted that evidence and we placed a child at a skill level. For example, Amy may have come into school at a level B on one of the constructs, and in a few weeks, she was already showing and demonstrating that she was at a level D. And maybe by the 60th day, she's already at a level E. And so I might have 3 or 4 learning statuses in there for Amy. Maybe more for another child, maybe less. There's no set amount of learning statuses that you need. It's the professional judgment of the teacher on when and how many learning statuses he or she needs to inform their next steps, and that's the key. What do I know about this child? Do I need to know more to know what kind of materials or how to address his or her needs? And the status summary is a one-time event where I reflect on all of that information I have on this child, and I decide where they are at on that 60th day. Now, our 60th day is around November 20th, and we need to have everybody's status summary completed by December 7th. With Florence, we realize some of you have unique needs, and your regional consultant will be talking to your director about your dates, and if anything changes, they will be sure and let you know. That affects, you know, some of our eastern and southeastern schools. So if anything changes, they will let you know. But right now it's December 7th, which doesn't mean on December 6th, you have to sit there and go through all your children. The 60th day is on or around that November 20th mark. And that's when you start doing your summary, your status summary. We need you to be finished by December 7th. And in the platform, you'll see an icon for it right there, create status summary by class. And of course, there's always help if you need it. Principals and coaches also have access to reports so that you can identify where you might need to provide support for your teachers. And teachers, after this 60th day, the process still continues. What you're thinking is, which children on which progressions do I need to still give support and follow and collect and gather evidence of learning? And it goes all year long. Now we're going to take a closer look at where you could find more information. We're going to go live into our state wiki, and I'm going to throw the screen over to my colleague, Melissa.
I think everyone can see my screen. And so one of the most important resources or places to find resources is our Wikispaces site. I'm hoping Jamie and Lauren are going to put the wiki address in the chat box for you so you can all copy it down and check it out later. We do realize Wikispaces is going out of business, but this wiki will be active through the end of December. and we'll be sure to notify everyone once our new digital space is available. So what we're looking at right now is the home page, and on the home page, right smack dab in the middle, what you see is a See What's New section. This is where you can find anything timely that might be of use to you right now. For example, you'll see that we have that requirement graphic right here. If you click here, you'll see it much larger that Darlene just shared with you. There's a very brief PowerPoint that reviews this year's KEA updates. Besides that, it says upcoming webinars. This is actually where this particular webinar was advertised and where you'll find future upcoming webinars, if any are scheduled. That next section says NC K3 FAP modules for teachers and administrators. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on that, and it will bring us directly to this professional development page. And right here at the top of this page, you'll find the information about the current modules that are available. You'll notice there's a module for teachers and another one for administrators. We have gotten great reviews regarding these modules and strongly encourage anyone new to the KEA or even just want to take a deeper dive into the KEA, go ahead and enroll in order to develop this better understanding of the formative assessment process. Both modules are engaging and convenient. You're able to start and stop as necessary. The teacher module is 10 hours and it's 1 CEU, and the admin module is 3-hour mini modules and it's 0.3 CEUs. So it's a great resource to learn more. So now I'm just going to go back to the home page of our wiki and show you a few more things. Scrolling down below this See What's New section, there is a short video here from John Pruitt, the director of the Office of Early Learning, and this is a great video that can help you get a better idea of what the formative assessment process is all about. And then below that, you can click on a link here to subscribe to the updates from the Office of Early Learning. The next thing that I'd like to share with you from our wiki is important resources. So going to our navigation bar, I'm going to click on important resources. And when this opens up, there is a plethora of resources available to you. And I don't want you to get bogged down in it. The first thing that I'm going to share with you is the 5 domains of Learning and Development LiveBinder. This is a great resource for anybody who's new to the early childhood world or anyone who just wants to better understand the 5 domains that we discussed earlier. The next resource, I'm just going to go scroll down this page a little bit, and it says kindergarten specific resources. Darlene showed you some documents earlier, and I want to make sure that you can find them. So the KEA Construct Progressions book. Darlene specifically said everyone needs to have a copy of this book. You will want to. If you don't, you should have one. So you can click here and you can download it. You can print it out, or you can click here and you can go to our publications page and order it, and it will get sent to you. The next resource is the KEA at a Glance document. Again, Darlene mentioned this document. This is where you find it, download it and print it out. Great resource to have everything at your fingertips. And the KEA observation grids. These, again, download, print these out if you are interested in using these for documenting any evidence. There are 2 items that Darlene did not show you earlier that I'm going to briefly show you because they can help a new teacher or administrator or even guide a PLC discussion. And that is, again, below these grids, you'll see the Kindergarten Center posters and planning guides wiki page. If you click that to open it, you'll see that there are posters and planning guides available for every center that you could possibly have in your classroom. They're set up, again, in these 5 domains with a rationale, questions to ask. This is just a great resource for anyone, for a new teacher, for your PLC. This can help you, and the planning guides are really, really helpful in setting up your centers. So just going back to that page we were just on, if you scroll just a little bit further, what you'll see down here, it says resources for your district implementation team and building administrators, is the practice profile. And again, I'm just going to click on this because it's such a great resource. I want you to take a peek at it. These are set up in the critical components. The critical components, if you remember, are those 5 points of the star. And so you'll see this is selecting learning targets. The next one is developing criteria for success, and so on. You'll see that there's an explanation of what this is about. What are learning targets? Right here are the look fors and open-ended questions to ask, to look for in your classroom. Expected implementation of what this looks like. Developmental variation and an unacceptable variation. This is a great tool, like I said, fostering PLC conversations, excellent. I'm going to go back now to, actually, I'm going to go back to the Wiki homepage. I want to show you 2 more things. The first, at the bottom here, where it says FAQ. This is frequently asked questions. If you have a question, you can check here first to see if you might be able to find the answer. Just in case your question isn't answered there, you can always click on the Contact Us. When you click there, what you'll see is our state divided up into the 8 regions, and each region has a consultant. And you'll see if you, again, Contact Us is this page. You'll see the picture, the region, phone number, and email address of your consultant. And then going back here, the one last thing, and you'll notice this navigation bar has not changed at all. Each page, the navigation bar has stayed the same. One last thing that I want to show you is this recorded webinars page. That is where you're going to be clicking if you want to view this particular webinar once it's been recorded and finalized and uploaded. That is where you will find it, under recorded webinars. So now that was a really brief overview, but that's our resources, and I'm hoping that you got the Wikispace address. And now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. I have a graphic to share with you. This is a graphic that depicts the balanced assessment system in North Carolina. You'll notice that summative assessment at the top and benchmark is in the middle, but the foundation of all of these assessments is that daily formative assessment that takes place in your classroom. It is the process of good, quality, personalized instruction that is happening every day. To learn more about how formative assessment is an enabler of learning, in your handout section, you'll notice there's a handout that is available to you. This is a screenshot of the article. It is a brief but excellent article by Margaret Heritage for you to review and possibly share your thoughts on at your next PLC meeting. And we know this has been really quick and brief, but again, here are the names and email addresses of your consultants, and you can email us anytime. I'm going to come right back to this page. We do hope you found this webinar helpful, and we definitely value your feedback. So please do take a minute and click the link in the box to let us know how we did today. Just complete that evaluation. And now I'm going to ask Jamie and Lauren if there are any questions that can be answered in these last couple of seconds. And while we do that, I'm going to make sure this screen stays up just in case you're interested in jotting down an email address. So Jamie, Lauren, are there any questions?
Hey, Melissa. Hey, everybody. Yeah, we've had a lot of great questions. One question that we got earlier on that seemed like it would be something that a lot of people would be interested in knowing the answer to was about the coaches. They were asking if coaches had access to the platform, and the answer to that was yes, that they do, but they need to go to their district administrator to get that access, or their regional consultant.
If for some reason there's a coach that still cannot access the information, there is a way to go about doing so. So they would just need to contact their district leader first, and then we could work with that district leader to support them getting access. Another really good question was a question regarding some resources available on the wiki for KEA specific content for parents, and there are definitely some great resources available for you to share with parents. And as Melissa was going through the content of the wiki, if you'll notice on the left hand side, of the menu bar, there are KEA specific resources that are available. And when you click on that, if you scroll down through the contents, you'll see family resources. For example, there's a family flyer, and that actually can be published through the DPI publications. And it's, I think, $15 for a pack of 30, and it also comes in the Spanish version. So that may be a good resource that teachers may want to access to be able to share information about KEA. And there are also some PowerPoints available, like if you're having a Title I parent night or a kindergarten night, there are even PowerPoints available for you to have access to use when communicating with parents.
Jamie, I was just going to add, right on that See What's New section on the right side, the only thing I didn't show you is that KEA flyer that is for families that Jamie just mentioned. So it's right there, smack dab on the front screen of relevant information that's timely right now. Thanks, Jamie.
You're welcome. I will share, there was a question about charter school engagement. And for those of you who are with us today in regards to serving in a charter school, it's certainly something that if you're interested in it, you would talk with your charter school leadership. They are not required as a charter school to be a part of it, but we certainly would be willing to provide support if that is something your charter school is interested in. So we just want to encourage you to talk with your leadership there in your charter school about the possibility of use of this.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you think of questions later, be sure and email.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks so much.
And thank you, Jamie and Lauren, for handling the questions. I know that can be really tricky when we have hundreds on the webinar. We appreciate it.
We enjoyed supporting folks. Thank you all for joining.